Oh, ooh, this is a good story. You want to hear this
Okay.
story? I got a good story.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Outside the Grind. We have Corelli with us today. Corelli, how you feeling this afternoon?
Dude, I'm feeling good. I'm excited. I've seen you've been tweeting about this
Yeah.
a few times. I've tuned in a couple times. I think I watched the T-Bates episode, and it's
hmm
really good. It's really good talk. You really unique perspective I think you get here than a lot of the other podcasts. So that's fun.
Yeah. That was definitely, I think, the motivating thing here. I am really stubborn regarding content as far as I I I almost would say I'm not a good creator, but I don't mean it in the way that people are going to interpret it. What I mean is like I'm not driven to follow what I think is going to perform well, I guess. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to do things just because it's going to earn me money or I think it's going to get good views. I'm much more driven by just things that interest me. And it's really, it's not some awesome thing. It's just simply like I'm not going to be disciplined about doing those things because I just don't find it that fun. I think
Mhm.
it's much more important for me to find something that's fun, even if it's not super lucrative, because that will kind of keep me moving. You know what I mean?
Dude, I know exactly how you mean because that's exactly how I've approached making content.
Yeah,
It's just like I just do it because I want to, and
yeah,
then when I don't stream for a month. It's like
yeah.
I only want to do it when I want to, and I only do it really for me. And like I obviously don't make
Mhm.
any money off content for the most part. So yeah, it's just for my own entertainment at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a selfish thing. So,
Yeah.
but I definitely I was really excited about this because one, there's not going to be much editing, so on the backside, it's not going to be
That's
super
nice.
intense, right? And then two, I like the whole thing that with streaming, and I think the reason that I like that so much more than VOD content is because there's that discussion live
Yeah,
back and
yeah.
forth. And I'll also be honest, I'm not the person that sits and plans out a stream like these activities. I just let my
Same. Yeah.
yeah, I just let my mouth do the work. And so
Yeah.
I was like, man, I think this would be super fun. And I also think that it's interesting or fun to kind of get to know these faces that we know Corelli the caster, or we know T Bates the caster or analyst, we know Nito the creator. And I think it's just fun to get some background information and see what
Yeah.
all's going on behind the scenes. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I like to start chronological. It's just easy to keep things in order that way. So let's rewind it way back, and we'll kind of start in this gaming world. Have you always been into games, or is that something that maybe developed later in life?
The short answer is yes.
Yeah.
But I've gone in waves with gaming.
Okay.
So like when I was a kid, up until I was 18, I played a lot of sports. And
Yeah.
so I basically any time that I wasn't playing sports, I was gaming, which was a lot, but it wasn't enough to be like a grinder. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I played a lot of video games. That's like I spent all my free time doing that. And then when I got to college, my Xbox got the Red Ring of Death,
Oh
and I
no.
I didn't have any money, and
Yeah.
it was the Xbox I got when I was 13, Xbox 360, and so I quit gaming like cold turkey for like 4 years.
Oh,
Complete like 100% out of the gaming space,
that's
like
crazy.
completely. I wasn't really into like the online stuff.
Sure.
It was more of just like I played COD and
hmm
Halo with my friends every day,
Yeah.
and we like doing that online. But like as far as like the greater world of
hmm
it, like Twitter or YouTube and stuff like that, I was into YouTube. I actually had a YouTube channel for a little while, for like a year, and I grinded videos like in Call of Duty and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
once I got to college, I couldn't do any of that anyways,
hmm
and my Xbox died. So it wasn't until Rocket League came out that it got me back into gaming. But like for that four
Oh.
years, like I did not play video games. I didn't look up any video games. It's
Yeah.
like a complete black hole for me for gaming.
So, what were some of the games when you were younger and you did have the Xbox? What were some of those games that you like to play?
Well, honestly, I mean, honestly, I wasn't a huge variety gamer. Like I
Yeah.
literally on my Xbox only played Halo and Call of Duty with my friends. But when I had a GameCube, before
Okay.
the Xbox 360 came out, I played a lot of like just like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. I don't know if
Yeah.
you played that one with like the Chow Garden and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was a great game. I played the crap out of that one. Virtua Striker 2002, which was just like a soccer game on the GameCube, which was like completely random. It's not a good
Yeah.
game, I don't think. Um, and then I don't know. Oh, Smash Bros.
Smash
Obviously
Bros. Yeah.
played a ton of that. Mario Kart, Mario Party, just like your typical Nintendo lineup, right?
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
wasn't anything crazy.
And then you said like you weren't super involved in the like online spaces. So were you not really into esports at that time either?
I just didn't know how to consume it. So,
Gotcha.
in 2007 or 8, there was something called like I'm gonna get it wrong, but it's called like the Championship Gaming Series or something,
Yeah.
and it was a combination of all these different esports. So it was like Gotham, PGR, Project Gotham Racer,
Yeah.
uh, Counter Strike. I don't know which one it was, but it was an old Counter Strike, and they only viewed it in third person, which was hilarious. Like they spectated Counter Strike in
Yeah.
only third person. And then there was like a fighting game that I don't remember the name of, and they would do all of them in one tournament, like all at the same time. So you'd watch a game of Counter Strike, then you'd watch a game of
Oh,
PGR
okay.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like a big tournament, and it's on Wikipedia. I went back and looked it up. They did a couple of them. I watched one of them, and it was on DirecTV. So my parents had DirecTV, and that was
Yeah.
the way I watched it. And I was like, "Oh, this is really cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
esports existed." And then um, I watched that, and like I was into the Call of Duty scene, I guess, but I didn't realize that there was esports outside of Call
Yeah.
of Duty. So, and I only consumed YouTube videos, and live streaming wasn't really a big thing. The only reason I found live streaming was because it was either Nadeshot or Scump
Yeah.
were like, "Hey, I'm going to a new website off of YouTube. It's called Twitch, where you can like watch me live." And I was like, "Watch you live? How do you do that?" And like, and so that's how I found Twitch and all of that.
Wow. That's great. It is, when you hear people reflect, like last week we talked to Karma, it is crazy how quick this thing has blossomed because it's
Oh, it's
really
wild.
new.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
2010, it's not even 15 years ago. And, that's just like the very, very, probably like beginning of tournaments and I guess just online organized play in any official capacity. And to see where it is now, where you've got your professional leagues and whatnot, but it's dipping into schools and stuff now. I was in education before I started doing this, and the school district that I worked for was picking it up, and that was, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago at this point. And so,
wow.
and they've got like, they've got state championships just like football or basketball or anything else.
Yep.
So it's really cool, and I know obviously as it continues to grow, students are getting scholarships
Yeah, that's
at the
wild.
secondary
That's
level, which is so
crazy.
cool.
That's so crazy
Um,
to me.
very it's very fast moving, and it's got me very optimistic about the future too. I know that esports is kind of rocky at times, but yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. Okay, so you said Rocket League is kind of the thing that ended up bringing you back into gaming. How did you stumble across Rocket League?
um, so as it goes, I was graduating college
Mhm.
that fall of 2015. So um, during that summer break, I was like, screw it. I'm going to get back into gaming. Like, I have a lot more time on my hands. Like, I'm
Yeah.
taking like 12 credits my last year or my last semester because I graduated a semester early. So that's why I graduated in the fall.
Okay.
Um, and I was like, I'm just going to get back into it because I'm going to have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And like, I've kind of done everything. I got the full college experience. Like,
Mhm.
I know what's going on. I'm a senior now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just going crazy anymore. So,
Winding down.
yeah, I was winding down, old man winding down out of college, and so I watched E3,
Mhm.
and I was like, I went into it with a plan, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch E3, I'm gonna write down every game that I think sounds cool,
Yeah.
and then I'm just gonna buy it. Just one time, like one shot, I'm gonna see the one pitch that they have for it. I'm not gonna look up anything more. If it
Yeah.
looks cool, I'm just gonna buy it because I don't know what I like, and I'd never really branched out of like the shooters.
Yeah.
So I was really looking for games that were not necessarily shooters. So the first game I found was called Ashen Winds, which I never ended up buying actually. It was like some goofy little story game that had some cool graphics. Never actually played it. And then another game was called Sea of Thieves. And that
Okay.
game straight at the top of my list. And
Yeah.
and for the record, I played the hell out of Sea of Thieves. But I played it like 2 years later. I didn't buy it right then.
Yeah.
But love that game to death. Probably one of my top games of all time. And then there was a few more in there for like PlayStation exclusives, whatever.
Yeah.
But and I swear to God this is true, but apparently I've been told that I'm remembering it incorrectly. But I'm going to say my version of it is that there was a commercial break between like the main games that came on,
Yeah.
and during those commercial breaks, they brought on like indie developers. And Psyonix was one of those indie developers. It was like a 15-minute segment, and I swear to God, like Devin Connors was on there, one of those guys, like, and they're just playing the game, they're talking about it,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is the coolest game in the whole world. Like, this looks like one of those games. I remember telling myself this. This looks like one of those games that I could just mindlessly play,
Yeah.
and like when I'm not playing the games that I want to play.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, that was the first game to come out of all the games that I wrote down. Immediately downloaded it that night. I saw some streams beforehand, like
Yeah.
DirkNed used to stream it, who works for Psyonix now. Obviously, like Cronovi, Lucinio, those guys were streaming it. So I had seen a little bit of it, and it, made me want to do it even more.
Yeah.
And so then I downloaded it, and then yeah, here we are.
Yeah. The rest is history.
Yeah.
I feel like Rocket League, at least, and obviously it's not the case for everybody. This is like, I don't know if this is the right thing, but like survivorship bias. I don't know if that's the right word, but like everyone that does play it for a long time kind of has that same story of like, I played it once and was hooked. Like there was no way I was getting out of it. And I mean, I'm the same way. I had consoles growing up, but I was never into games. I was very much the same as far as sports. And I had friends that played games, so I was acquainted with it. Like I know some games, and I've grabbed a controller and like played it a time or two, but never did I ever like sit and grind. Outside of Pokemon on the Game Boy, I definitely did.
Of course.
You
have to do that.
But like, so I had Tekken, I had Spyro, I had Need for Speed, but I mean, I am certain that none of those games had over 10 hours invested.
Right.
And then like the Call of Duty age, where like online play really took off. By that time, I was really busy with high school stuff, so just never made any time for it. But my friends in college were very different from the people that I hung out with in high school. And they just introduced me to a lot of things that I would have never given the time of day. Anime, one of them. And I'm so grateful because I just love anime.
Yeah. That's interesting because I had the opposite experience where like all my high school buddies, we all played Call of Duty like every day after school, like all of us.
Yeah. And then
like
you
20 of us.
switched.
And then when I went to college, nobody played Call of Duty. Like they're
Yeah.
like, "What are you talking about? We don't even know what Call of Duty is." I was like, "What? Like, how do you guys not even know what it is? Like, maybe you don't play, but you don't know what Call like every
that is crazy because that was a huge like COD and Halo. I feel like took over the world for teenage to 20-year-olds.
That's what I was saying. I mean, and obviously there were some guys that knew that, but yeah, they were like, we don't really play, or we know it, but we don't play it. And so they actually just introduced me to like having a life outside of like playing games.
Yeah.
So that was funny.
So we have like inverted situations there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they introduced me to that stuff, and funny thing is, I didn't even have a console at the time, and they wanted to play Rocket League. A guy was talking about. He had seen it, and I think we watched some, like, this was before RLCS. This must have been like MLG or something. Because this was 2016 when it was like brand new for Xbox. And so I actually bought it on someone else's console, and we were playing like Chaos, the 4 on one screen.
Oh gosh.
And it was, I mean, like I said, it's just that initial hook, and like there was no chance. And I have, like I said, I've never played games like that outside of Pokemon. But like I said, I didn't have a console, so I'm going over to this person's house while they're at work so I could go play. I'm going over to this person's house and it was just, I mean, it was full blown like addiction, man. It was crazy.
I was the same way because when the game came out near the end of the fall, I had a buddy who bought a new PlayStation. I don't know if PS4, PS5, whatever one it was. And he was playing GTA, and I was like, dude, have you heard of this game called Rocket League? And he's like, oh yeah, like I actually have it. I've played it.
Yeah.
Because it was free, right, on PlayStation or whatever. So I was like, we should play. And like I had been grinding. Like I could aerial and stuff like that. Like I had like 70 hours in the game at that point, which was grinding, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, we should play. So we played split screen, and I only wanted to play with him just so I could show off because I knew that I was pretty far ahead of the curve and like I was winning a lot. He's like, dude, how are you doing this? This is crazy. And he's like freaking out while we're watching it. I was like, I don't know, I just sit in my room and play all day. So,
That right there, though, is like, that's so special because, like, at this point, you can't replicate that. When it was new for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And you had, I mean, I remember, and this is a year later because I didn't play until it came out on Xbox. And even then, like the original season 3, Challenger Elite, which is probably like, I don't know, gold, maybe platinum at this point.
Yeah.
And, if you were Challenger Elite, like that was, people were impressed, like, whoa. And then you
Yeah.
remember like the wheels, the blue star wheels. If
Oh
you had the
yeah.
blue wheels, like, oh, okay, you're legit.
That's so funny. I remember having, because I got the platinum crown for top 100, and
That's
so
crazy.
it's a crazy flex. Like
Yeah,
nowadays, it's a crazy flex. When it came out, people just called you a tryhard, and they're like,
sure,
"Oh, nice
sure.
crown, idiot." But like now, if you have the
Get a
crown, like,
life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But now, if you have the crown, like, it's a big flex because that's the only like top 100 rewards they ever came out
Yeah,
with, as far as I
yeah,
know.
yeah. Especially because you're still competing at a very high level. At least relative to the player base. I know.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have a skewed vision because we see professional
I
play,
know.
but
Yeah.
man, that's so interesting. So you said you watch, and I've seen you tweet about this some with, was it you talk about Nate Shot and Scump? Was
So, yeah.
that were those guys playing Call of Duty back then? Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So Call of Duty's kind of maybe the introduction into the esports world. And then
Definitely.
do you think that you had like any interest or any thought of having just any kind of career in this space, or is this something that you just fell
Oh,
into
oh,
it?
oh, oh, in the space, yes.
Yeah.
Because I was inspired or influenced by guys like Nate Shot
Yeah.
to make Call of Duty like commentary videos. So
Okay.
I did that when I started making those. Oh man, maybe when I was 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, 17 to 18-ish, because it was right before I stopped in my freshman year of college because I just didn't have time.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of getting hard to explain to my roommate while I was sitting under my bed, like talking to myself, like into the microphone over and over again.
Sure, sure.
So I was kind of embarrassed, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And so that was what I wanted to do. I was like, oh, I want to have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And like at the time, I'm like, I'm gonna have 1,000 subscribers. And like at the time, but that was a
That was
lot. Like, if you
huge,
had
right?
and I got up to like 500, which was a lot back then.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty impressed with myself. And then I got to college. I couldn't do it, and I was grinding. I was posting every few days. I was really
Yeah.
good at Call of Duty, so the gameplays came really easily. I still have my old hard drive. In fact, I pulled it out the other day. It's this big hard drive, external hard drive,
Yeah.
with all of my old Call of Duty gameplays, all of them that I used and uploaded to YouTube, and the ones that I was going to. And I have like hundreds of them of me hitting like
That's so
100
cool.
kills, 150 kills,
Yeah.
175 kills solo, like just crazy good gameplays in pub lobbies, obviously. And that's what I would use for my thing. So yeah, I mean, Call of Duty, it wasn't the first esport I watched, because the first one had to have been that Championship Gaming Series, and then I was
Sure.
introduced to Halo. But Call of Duty was like the game that showed me, okay, what is an esport? What does it mean to be
Yeah.
like an esports competitor? What are the teams? What is I forget what it was, CWL at the time, or Call of Duty World League, or whatever the heck it
Yeah.
was at the time. And so, oh no, it was the MLG stuff. They would go around at the MLG circuit. So like, they're like in Raleigh this week, and then they're all
Yeah.
in Orlando, and it was just like, this is so cool. I think they were in Seattle. Like, it's just really, I loved it. It was like, this is like real, I was
Yeah,
like, this is like
yeah.
a real sport. So that's what really cemented me, was those guys like Scump or Nate Shot, the Optic game. They were Optic Gaming at the time.
So
They
it was
influenced me a lot.
content, but it was definitely more along the lines of like esports commentary in the content space. Is that what it was? Or
No, not esports commentary. Just like back then, Call of Duty commentaries were just, you have the gameplay in the background,
Yeah.
and you just talk about anything. So
Yeah.
it could be about the game. It could be about the new weapons that they put in, the new grenade, the new kill streak,
Okay.
the new map.
Sure, sure.
Or if they don't have any content like that, you just talk about yourself, your life. Like, it
Yeah.
was literally just like, hey
Gotcha.
guys, I saw this on the news the other day. Here's my opinion, or like,
Yeah.
this is some crazy stuff happening. It's
Okay.
like, whatever.
And so with the casting stuff, and I know this is outside the grind, but I'm very interested now. How like how does that come about? I know you competed for a while in Rocket League as well.
Oh, so actually very similar story was that, like, I wanted to stay in the space, right? So
Yeah.
so when I moved to San Francisco for my first job, I was actually looking to be a like production guy.
Okay.
or like a TO. I
Yeah.
wanted to like host a tournament, and I just looked around for someone and found someone that a company called Showdown who they actually white labeled for the Genesis tournaments or one of the Genesis Smash tournaments. I think Genesis 5. So like they were legitimized, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool. I didn't know what Genesis 5 was at the time. But I was like, that's cool.
It's something.
Um, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I showed up to a tournament, me and a subbin, and we played a 2v2 tournament, and then we won, and then the president was like, "Hey, we need casters." I was like, "No, not me." But it was funny when I eventually was convinced to do it. I fell right back into like my commentary that I did in those
Hmm.
YouTube videos. So I do think those YouTube videos actually helped
Yeah.
me at least have a good starting point because I would like one take the YouTube videos. I
Yeah.
had no
Yeah.
script, no nothing. I would just know the topic. I know a few things inside the topic that I wanted to hit. One take, no editing, slap it onto the gameplay, upload it. That was how I
Yeah.
operated.
Yeah. That's so awesome. I love hearing about this, and we'll get off of the work stuff here in a moment, but I love hearing about it because, and obviously it is because this industry is so new and there's not really like a path for these things. So I got my degree back here. I was gonna be a teacher. That's like laid out
Yeah.
for you, right? Like here are the
Right.
steps that you take. Here's a degree you
Yeah.
get. Here's how you apply. Boom, boom, boom. But
Here's mine right
this,
here.
yeah, there you go. What an expensive piece of paper, huh?
Yeah, right.
But in this esports space, whether it's a pro or commentator, production, it doesn't matter. Everybody's got such a unique journey. It's
Mhm.
so like it's just so individual. Each person is so wildly different in
Yeah.
how they got to where they are.
It's funny. I we'll get off it in a second, but I want to say a kid actually DM'd me yesterday.
Yeah.
He's 16 years old, and he was just like, actually, hold on. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but he was just like, "Yo, uh, I want to be, I was wondering what type of road you took to eventually
Yeah.
become an RLCS caster." And I, I started off the D. I sometimes respond. Like I don't respond to everyone, not because I
Yeah.
get a lot, but it's just like I say the same story over and over again.
Yeah.
But I was just like, listen, dude, there's no path, there's no
Mhm.
hierarchy. I mean, I even said in the DM, I was like, listen, being a good caster doesn't get you hired.
Yeah.
It's having the connections. That's
Mhm.
what gets you hired. I
Yeah.
mean, when I started, most of my gigs came from just connections with people. It didn't come from being Corelli. So, and for some people that can work. Like Johnny Boy, it works like that, right? Like, because Johnny Boy was like big bad YouTuber boy, is
Yeah.
now caster boy,
Yeah.
and so that works. And he's a great caster, obviously. So yeah, it just depends. Everyone's story is different.
Yeah. It is yeah, it's just it's very unique relative to a lot of the traditional careers, and I assume it's mostly because it's so new, and we'll see some of these things probably end up like having paths in the future, but I imagine that's quite a ways down the line. All right,
Yeah.
enough about work. Um, so you talked about sports. What are some of the sports that you played growing up?
Um, I played basketball. I played baseball. I played a little bit of tennis, but the
Okay,
sport I played absolutely the most, 98% of the time, was soccer. Like I played one
gotcha.
season of baseball. I played maybe 2 seasons of basketball. I tried out for the volleyball team in high school. Was one too short, and two, the soccer coach didn't let me join the team. So because I was 5'11". I think I'm shrinking. I think I'm 5'10" now, but I was 5'11" in high school. Um, 'Cause it was too short for being to be a volleyball player.
Yeah,
But I played a ton of soccer. I think we've had this conversation privately before, but
yeah,
when I was growing up, I was pretty good at soccer. So I was on club teams. I was on obviously my varsity, high school team as a sophomore. I played for an academy team. I played for the state team, the regional team, the Olympic team for my age.
yeah,
So like I was pretty accomplished,
yeah,
and I could have pursued sports into college if I wanted to. I was good enough, but I just realized that it was one of those things that I had done so much. Like when you grow up with something like that,
mhm,
once you kind of get exposed to other people's experiences with like sports or just like other things, you kind of realize that like, hey, maybe there's more to life than the
yeah,
one thing that I've always done.
yes.
And so I don't regret walking away from it. I do wish I would play every once in a while, but I'm A, too fat and out of shape, and B, my knees would blow out
That's what-
instantly.
It's
instantly.
like unironically dangerous now.
It is. I see you tweeting about you going for a run,
I know.
and I'm looking at that. It's like that, you know that picture of like Wolverine sitting in the bed with like a picture frame? It's me
Yeah.
reading that, and I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. And it's just your tweet, and you like looking so happy after a run. I'm like, I wish I could go for a run,
Dude,
man.
okay, well, let's talk about it because it is dangerous. I was overworking and I was starting to develop issues in my right knee, and so the
Shocking,
reason
yeah.
the reason you're seeing these tweets now is I went like a month straight of like I peeled. I was going every 5 or 6 days a week, sometimes even all 7 days I would run, and then I started to develop an issue with the outside of my right knee.
Yep.
I don't know what exactly it was, but I think it was just overworking, and I don't think the rest of my muscles were like, I just ran. I
Mhm.
wasn't taking care of anything else. I wasn't stretching
Yep.
properly,
Yep. Did the
and
same thing.
so yeah, I had to peel way back on the frequency, and I was frustrated because when you are used to like growing up traditional sports, you just go. Like you don't think
Yep.
about it, it just happens. You
Nope.
just take off.
Yeah.
You're never in any trouble or anything physically outside of like bad injuries, but like soreness or what like that, whatever, you just go. So I was really frustrated, but I was also thinking to myself, like, you can cause long-term damage if you're not careful. So
Hmm.
there's no reason to push it. So yeah, I
Yeah.
have been tweeting because I'm excited to not have the pain anymore. So
No, they're motivational. I do like them, and I did the same thing. I was like, I'm just gonna start running. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? And all I did was I did a nice. Well, okay, my first run, I get out there, and I have like a little tracker thing on.
yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going for like, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds. Like, man, this is a lot hard in my head. I'm like, this is a lot harder than I remember. And I
Yeah.
look down at my watch. I'm running at a 6 minute mile pace at this like
Oh,
instantly. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. Like, there's
yeah.
no way. Because I used to be able to run a mile, no problem.
No problem. Yeah.
Like I'm running 6 minute miles, easy peasy back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was all my body knew. And I have to physically, this sounds so like I have a massive amount of hubris about me running, but like I had to physically think about myself like, okay, you need to run slower.
Yes.
Like
Slow down.
you
Yes.
have to go. And it felt weird.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how to run that slow,
Uh-huh.
which I know sounds like a massive ego about running,
No,
but
it's
it's just like
true. It's real.
I didn't know how to slow down. And then
Yeah.
I did that for 5 or 6 days. I got into the groove, was running like a cool like 12 or 14 minute mile, like nothing
Yeah.
crazy, just trying to get through it. Knees, I woke up one morning like
Oh
5 days
no.
into it, knees absolutely shot with a shotgun, both of them. And I'm like hobbling out of our room, and I'm talking to my girlfriend. I'm like, Tara, what's wrong with me? She's like, what'd you do? And I was like, I ran 5 times and I cannot walk. And I'm like dragging myself on the ground around. I'm like, please come help me. And that's why I had a tweet, and I tweeted this was probably 4 or 5 months ago now. And I was like, how do you people at the age of like 30 run? Like, who's running at 30? Because like my knees, I'm a former athlete. I
Yeah.
used to run this easy all the time, and I can't do this. And people are like, you need to stretch, you need to stretch. So I'm trying to back up now. I'm actually going to be I'm starting weight training of like
Yeah.
just lightweight training on my knees because all my muscles just aren't
Yeah,
used to
they're
that
not.
anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
It's crazy.
All this stuff is like I went through the exact same thing, the
Yeah.
100% the same thing, and I actually I think I'm a little older. I am 30, so
I'm 29, so I'm right behind you.
yeah, you're hot on the tail, dude. But that's so true. Like the running slow thing, it's like it's not like, oh, I'm too good, I'm so fast. It's just like a discipline thing. Like if you don't think about I'm going too fast,
Yeah.
you're just going to. It just happens, and I'm sure we're not the only ones. I know. I talked a little bit about running on my stream, and some folks were telling me that, and they were giving some tips, and that's one of the things they talked about was like, you're gonna feel weird, like you're going too slow, but that's proper. That means you've
Yeah.
done well. But dude, I love it because I don't want to. I just had this weird thing about the gym. Like, I don't want to pay for something when I can just do it for free. And ultimately, I'm not so worried about like looking buff or whatever. I'm not saying it'd be cool, but I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
It's just physical health. And so exercise is like the thing, and I don't really care how I get it. And so if I can just walk out of my door, strap up some running shoes and go,
I
that's
feel the
how I
same
am.
way. I tell that to my girlfriend all the time because I was like, I always tell her, I was like, what if I just start going to the gym and I just get just yoked? Like I've never had massive arms, especially as a soccer player. Like
Yeah, yeah.
your upper body's tiny.
Hmm.
This is probably the biggest my upper body's ever been, and it's not muscle.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what if I just get like huge? She's like, honestly, I don't know if I would really like it. Like,
Yeah.
you've never been like that. And honestly, none of my clothes would fit, but it looks good. Like, I mean, someone who posts a lot about that is Seb. He casts CRLB streams.
Mm-hmm. Oh
And
yeah.
dude, that guy's yoked. I
Beast.
mean, he looks great.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could ever do that personally, but
It's.
he looks great. But I'm with you. Like, I feel like I would love to just slim down,
Mm-hmm.
stay a little skinny noodle arm boy, and just be fit.
Yeah.
That
Dude,
would be
I've
the
got
goal.
so and you'll be the same way. When you were younger, you didn't have to care about food. It didn't matter because you ran so much in soccer, right? You didn't even think
Yeah.
twice about it. You could
Oh,
probably drink as many sodas as you want. It didn't matter.
yeah.
And then as you get older and you just start to use your body less, it just starts packing on some fat. And I know that I'm not large by any means, but
Same.
I could definitely see a difference in my body composition. And so earlier this year, I started to eat a little bit more healthy. I've got you talk about the watch. And so I've been tracking calories in and out. And dude, I have a 6 month, I took pictures at the beginning of the year and then 6 months in. And I was mind blown. I could
Really?
not, like, I could like very drastically tell. And it's
Yeah.
not like, listen, it's not like someone shedding 100 pounds. It's not the same thing.
Sure.
But I could
Yeah.
see a very obvious difference in my body. And I'm probably going to share it at the end of the year and just see, like,
Nice.
you know,
I'm
one,
excited.
6 months in, 12 months
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I have worked, right? I've done exercise. When I'm not running, I go outside and walk, and I do things to burn calories, but I just haven't done anything crazy. You know, a lot of people will get in these wild diets where they have to, like, completely shift everything about their life, and I have not done that. You know, I have not gotten into supplements or, you know, this crazy strict routine of working out and doing this. And, you know, it's just as simple as like walking. You just need to do something to burn those calories. And
Right.
I mean, like I said, I was actually like sincerely surprised at the difference that it made. And I guess, you know, if anyone is listening that is considering something like that, I think the easiest thing to do is just build a system that's like as minimal friction as possible. You know what I mean? Like as minimal resistance.
Make
That's
it doable.
why I said what I said about the gym. Like all I gotta do is walk outside and go. And that's why I like running. That's why I like the calisthenics stuff. You know, it's just like what I need to do is I need to take away excuses. You know,
Yeah.
because if I have an
Yeah.
excuse, I'll probably use it. So, but anyways,
I'm with you on that. I feel the same way. I'm like, oh, I could go to the gym today, or I could work on
or
content.
yeah, oh, how much time? Oh, only 40
Yeah.
minutes. No, I
Can't
can't
do it.
Nah, I can't
do
work
it.
today.
Yeah,
That's
that
so
is the
funny.
hardest part. Your mental's
It is.
the hardest part.
Yeah.
And it sucks because now, even if you get past the mental hurdle as you get a little bit older, you realize now your body just gives out. So
Yeah.
like even if you're focused and you're motivated to give 100%, sometimes you can't. Sometimes your body just won't let you
That's right.
because I'm out of shape. You know, I just can't get there. I mean,
Mm.
obviously, I think if I was in shape, I probably could go back to my 18-year-old self of just like
Yeah.
I'm going in, I'm gonna crush a workout and go home. But like, especially in the beginning, man, like I've only once gotten over that. In the many times I've tried working out, my issue is I always hurt myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very prone. My knees hurt. I always hurt my back. I've hurt my neck. I was doing incline barbell bench press
Yeah.
and ripped something in my shoulder
Oh,
one time.
gosh.
And I went to a doctor and they're like, dude, you should just never do that like exercise. Like it's horrible for your shoulders. I was like, oh, I didn't even know this.
Oh, okay.
Every dude in the gym's doing this
Yeah.
movement, and I'm the one who rips the ligament. But yeah, so it's a funny battle, but it's one that I am hoping to win in the next couple years.
Yeah. It's definitely, yeah, it's a tough one, and I think you're right about it. It's just so mental. You know, that injury can be so frustrating. I know, like my knee it's not that big of a deal, and I could still walk. I didn't have pain. It was like the 8 to 12 minute mark of running. It was like
Gives out
every time, and it would always strike right then. But yeah, I got really frustrated, and like I said, I just kind of said, look, I don't have anything to train for anyways. I'm just trying to get in shape. So have some patience and, you know, think macro, not micro, because I was just angry because I couldn't run like this week or this month
Right.
when in reality I'm trying to set these lifelong habits. So, well,
Yeah.
I like to ask this question because I want to push the idea of celebrating accomplishments. So what are some proud moments, some highlights, some accomplishments in your life that you're going to hold on to to your old age?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, obviously what I do now is
Mhm.
probably like the biggest achievement of my
Yeah,
life when it comes to just like, oh nice, I got the same water bottle. Let's go.
Gold Rush.
Yeah, the wisdom. Like what I do now is like, you know, it's super elite, it's super high level, it's super fortunate, it's super lucky, and it's really cool, right?
Yeah,
Like there's no other job, there's no other work that you can do that I think is as cool as this, in my opinion. And like, so that is definitely the highlight. A lot of it, all the other highlights are probably just going to be sports related.
yeah.
um, I obviously making like state and regional teams
Mhm.
were really good. I was like two steps away from like being in the pool of like the national team players, which was really cool
Mhm.
for my age at least. So like that was a big accomplishment. I always was kind of like a big fish in a small pond when it came to sports because the area I grew up in wasn't very good. But
Gotcha.
where I moved now, for my age group, the team was the number 2 team in the country, and
Oh
they were
wow.
really good.
Yeah.
And I tried out for that team and I made it, but I couldn't join it because they were like an hour away. It was just
Yeah.
impossible to get
Yeah.
to practice and stuff. So that's a big accomplishment for me. Just my entire soccer career. Like
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to have, I think, good genetics to be good at sports very early. I was very good
Yeah.
at sports. Every single sport that I played, I was good at.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky in that case. Not anymore, by the way. Don't ask me to kick a soccer ball now. I actually bought. It's around the corner here. I actually bought a soccer ball for the first time. Touched a soccer ball for the first time in maybe 10 years, and started just juggling around the house and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just get the touch back.
That's right. It'll come
Um,
back.
yeah. So that's a big accomplishment. Honestly,
Is there
another. Yeah, go ahead.
is there any moment in this casting career that like stands out, whether it's like, breaking into a new level or maybe a specific
Mm.
game or series or something that really stands out to you?
There's two things that stick out the most, and there's one that will stick out the most
Yeah.
to me when it happens, and it'll make sense in a second. The first big crowning achievement for me was when I casted season 6 World Championships
Yeah.
as a rival series caster. They brought up everyone, and that was just a big moment. That's a big moment for any caster
Hmm.
to cast a world championship. Like that
Yeah.
is, there's only one step higher than casting a world championship, and that's my next achievement, which is casting the grand final of
Yeah.
a world championship. Like obviously, it's just the grand final is just very prestigious for
Oh
every
yeah.
major,
It's
every
the
grand.
moment.
It's the moment. It's the moment for the players, but for talent too. It's
Hmm.
that is it. Like very few talent get to cast grand finals across all esports
Hmm.
because a lot of times it's the same guy in most
That's right.
esports.
Yeah.
So the fact that I got on there was pretty crazy. Could have hoped for a better series, but can't be picky. Anyways,
Can't control that, right?
can't control
You
that
just
one.
stuck with it.
No, Stacks always makes fun of me because every grand finals, I've casted a few grand finals, especially regionals, and they're always trash.
That's so
CRL
funny.
Worlds 2 years ago was a 4-0. This year was actually good. That was the
Yeah.
first one I got that was good. My grand finals, the RLCS was bad. But anyways, so those are the two biggest ones. The first World Championship I attended,
Yeah.
this last World Championship that I casted the final, and then the one that'll be a big moment for me that I am working on is casting a different game,
Ooh,
branching out and kind of growing my talent
okay.
outside. I don't want to leave Rocket League,
Sure.
but every talent, all the longevity in a talent is by how many games they can cast.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
really like if you look at all the talent that have been around for a while,
Hmm.
very few of them cast just one game.
Right.
So that'll be my next kind of crowning achievement,
That's
at least in there.
exciting. Is that
We'll
coming
see.
up relatively soon?
No, I have nothing I have nothing planned at the
Oh,
moment.
okay.
I have ideas and I
Sure.
have connections, but
Yeah.
I who knows? It's going to be
And do
tough.
you have a few different games that you'd be willing to jump into?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I couldn't do it very well right now, but I'd be open to casting Valorant, but that's a very tough one to get into. I don't know if I'd be able.
Yeah.
But the one that would probably be the most obvious choice would actually be Fortnite
Okay.
because of the relationship with Epic, and obviously, and that's the game I play the most outside
Oh,
of Rocket League. So I actually know that game
yeah.
pretty well.
Okay.
I could walk into that one and cast it easy peasy.
That's
So
exciting. Yeah, those
yeah.
are now, and I apologize for interrupting. Was there something else that you were wanting to talk about as well, as far as the proud moments?
Yeah. Another proud moment for me outside of like work and sports and this one might sound a little weird. I don't think it's weird, but is my relationship with my girlfriend.
Mhm.
Um, and the only reason I say that is because we started dating in college, and we dated like totally normal for 2 years ish, year and a
Yeah.
half, and then she went out to veterinarian school to get her uh, what is her DVM? I think it's called, a doctorate in veterinary medicine.
Yeah.
And so we did long distance for 4 years,
Mm.
and
Tough, isn't it?
it's tough because 4 years is a long time. There are
Yeah.
people that have done longer,
Mhm.
for sure. But it was tough because the requirements that they asked of her were basically her entire life. So like
Yeah.
there'd be days where I wouldn't talk to her, and I
Yeah.
was working a job in San Francisco at the time. So she went to the University of Illinois. I was in San Francisco. And while it's, a 4 hour or 4.5 hour long plane ride away, it's not that far. It was tough because you just couldn't get a hold of each other half the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I'm working, or she's working late on ER shifts, stuff like that. So we really pushed through that, and that was hard.
Yeah.
I remember I always tell her the first year we did long distance. So we're about 3 years into a relationship. I heavily considered breaking up because I was like, this is not a relationship. Like,
Yeah.
it's just two people who talk to each other like every once in a while,
Yeah.
And I think that was a fair
Mhm.
evaluation.
Yeah.
So, and she agrees, but I'm happy I didn't. We made it through. We bought this house. We've been living together for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
So it turned out, but I'm pretty proud of that. It's
Yeah.
been, I'm very proud of her. If you know me, I only talk about my girlfriend because she's way cooler than me. I know that's weird to say, but like she's I mean, an incredibly smart person and a superstar in like everything that she does. Like
Yeah.
she's one of those people that's like good at everything.
Yeah.
So so I'm really really proud to ride the coattails of her success in our relationship.
That's awesome. And how did y'all meet?
In college. Oh, ooh, this is a good story. You want to hear this
Okay.
story? I got a good story. It's the classic Corelli story. I've told this one many times on my stream, but this is a great Corelli story. All right. I went into college with a girlfriend from high school. Um, she was pretty bad. I'm not going to talk too much crap about her, but she was not a nice human.
Sure.
Um, but she was my first girlfriend, so
Yeah.
I was kind of like, had kind of, it's your first girlfriend. You don't
Yeah.
really want to break up because you don't want to feel that heartbreak, whatever.
Yes, that's right.
Anyways, she breaks up with me our freshman year, and I think she was bored, and but before she broke up with me, that was in February. She broke up with me in November. We signed a lease to live next to each other
Oh
in
no.
like these little cottage, like they're basically apartments,
Yeah.
but theirs was right next to ours, and so ours were me and three guys from high school, and then it was
Oh
her
gosh.
and three girls from high school.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, Tara, my girlfriend, went to the same high school as me, and
Okay.
she was in that same house, but we didn't know each other. So my ex-girlfriend is living with my soon-to-be now girlfriend,
Okay.
and
Right
the
next to
thing
you, right after y'all
right
break
next,
up.
we share a wall, okay, and the best part about this story is there's a night, um, is this PG or G rated?
No,
Anything?
tell
Okay.
your story.
All right, it's not a bad story, but she was like my ex girlfriend was like super drunk, like completely wasted.
Yeah.
Okay, and there was like a weird rumor with our friend group that I broke up with her. Okay, I
Mm.
didn't know this, but apparently there was,
Yeah.
and so nobody liked her. By the way, they all loved me, but so she's like super wasted. Did some like thing at her sorority or whatever, right? She
Yeah.
comes back, and one of the girls tells my ex-girlfriend, they go, oh, well, that's why Jack broke up. Like, this is why Jack broke up with you, because she was just like a mess.
Oh
And
no.
this like enrages my
Set her off.
ex-girlfriend, right?
Oh no.
She like rips a microwave off the wall and hurls it towards my now girlfriend and my roommate and his girlfriend, just like throws a microwave at him. And that night, I think everyone realized that my ex was just like, there
Yeah.
was something off
Yeah.
with her. She was going crazy. And so anyways, that happens. They have a huge falling out. So like my ex-girlfriend like kind of moves out in the middle of the lease and everything. So it's just those three girls. One of them my roommate's dating. One of them's my now girlfriend, and one of them's just a girl from high school that we kind of all knew.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I was in a fraternity in college, and what we did was every year, maybe twice a year, maybe every semester, we had a Vegas weekender. and it was it's kind of like prom, but like
Yeah.
for fraternities.
Yep.
And so
Formal?
yeah, formal. It's like
Yeah.
a formal thing.
I was in
And
a fraternity
so,
as well, actually.
oh, okay, we called them a weekender, but I think they're actually traditionally called a formal.
Oh, okay.
And so, uh, if you ask someone on this trip, you're normally like at least interested in them a
Yeah.
little bit, or
Yep.
you're just like really like best friends, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Which a lot of guys did that with just like girl best friends that they had. But like obviously I was interested in my current girlfriend, so like I asked her on this thing,
Yeah.
and so we got to know each other a little bit on the trip, and it was kind of weird because like we didn't know each other that well, but got to know each other a little bit, and like we had a ton of fun together, and so we started dating after that. So essentially, I dated my ex girlfriend's roommate. Is how I I sum that
Oh.
one up.
So, what fraternity were you in, if you don't mind me asking?
I was in Alpha Sigma Phi,
Gotcha. I was
which
Lambda Chi
was
Alpha.
Lambda Chi Alpha.
Yep.
Yeah, ours was small on the University of Arizona, and I was the risk manager. Can you believe that of a fraternity?
I can't believe that.
Which was a horrible decision. But I will say, fraternities get a horrible rap, and they
Yeah.
deserve it. They
They
absolutely
do. Yes, that's
they
right.
deserve it. I always tell people, I say I'm in a fraternity, they go, "Oh, really?" And I'm like,
I
I'm not going
know.
to run defense for any fraternity here, okay? Do not get me wrong. But we didn't have a lot of incidents, at least ones that would hit the news while I was risk manager. Yeah, we got into some fights.
Sure. I mean, that's gonna happen.
That's going to happen in college. That's not a fraternity specific thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but the other things about fraternities, happy to report that didn't happen while I was risk manager. Now, the second I got, so me and my buddy from high school, he was the president, I was
Yeah.
the risk manager. We ran a tight ship because we didn't want to get kicked off because the
Yeah.
school said if you guys do anything, misconduct, assault,
Mhm.
whatever, it's your heads. We're expelling you guys.
Right.
And I was like, oh shit.
Oh, okay.
So we ran a tight ship over there, and the second we both left, they got kicked off. The second we left, they got kicked off. Some kid punched another kid in the spleen and like ruptured it or something like that in the
Dude.
kidney. And I was like, what are you guys doing, man? Who does this?
It's-
Like,
I had a ton of fun,
dude, I loved it.
and
I loved it.
and I'm the same way. I'm not going to run defense, quite frankly, and I don't want this to sound rude. I mean, I guess it's what it is, though. I don't feel any allegiance or loyalty or anything to these letters or that organization or anything like that. I couldn't care anything
It's a
less about
social
that.
club.
The friends.
Yeah.
The friends that I made there are what I had so much fun with, and the memories that I made. And whether it was like the baseball team on my campus was essentially just like a sports fraternity. They were the same. They had their own house. They had parties. It's the same thing. It was just the baseball team. So whether it was a sport or a club that you were in or your fraternity or whatever that brought you together, like it's all the same,
It's all the same.
And so, but yeah, you're definitely right. They deserve the bad rap.
They absolutely do.
I mean, I witnessed and would condemn and do my best to stop as much of it as possible. But it's just there. It's just it's got such a rich history of awful traditions. You know
it's
what
horrible.
I mean? Just terrible. So,
I mean, you got hazed, right?
huh?
You got hazed?
No, of course not. No. Yeah.
I did. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I got a great story about, and it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
Okay.
But so my fraternity was brand new. They were on the school for about 40 years.
Mhm.
They got kicked off, or sorry, they were on the school 40 years ago and got kicked off 40 years ago.
Gotcha.
So it's been 40 years since they came back. So I was actually the alpha class, which means I was the first recruitment
that's
class.
cool.
So there's the founding fathers, which the nationals come out and they just recruit kids to be like the founding class.
Right.
And then that class recruits alpha class, which is like the first class. So I was that. So we were kind of at like the base level.
Yeah.
And a bunch of these guys were actually from my soccer teams. Like I played against like half the guys because in Arizona, my age group and the age groups around me were really good at soccer. So you kind of knew everyone. And I also played a couple years in like the 92s and 93s leagues as a 1994. So they were older than me, obviously. So I kind of knew them. So anyways, they were kind of goofy. There were a bunch of goofy guys.
Yeah.
They did no hardcore hazing because they're just like, that's super corny. Like that's so lame.
Yeah.
But we are going to haze you guys and it's going to suck, but it's not going to be like, oh, drink a whole bunch of alcohol and do Percocet. That's
yeah.
So one of the things I've said this on stream before, but it's hilarious. And we're kicked off campus. We had this thing called Caged In. Okay. And what it was they took everyone out of the living room. Or sorry, they took everything out of the living room except for the TV. Okay. and they lined everyone up, and they would put on full blast shitty Nicolas Cage movies for 24 hours. And you had to sit there
Caged
and
in.
watch you had to watch horrible Nick Cage movies while like doing like push-ups or like squats or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Okay. So that was like the first like ritual thing that we had to do, okay?
yeah.
The second day we show up, they got everyone in there and the whole house was covered in newspaper like on the ground. Like
Mhm.
just like sheets of newspaper. So you couldn't see the floor anymore. We're like, "Oh shit, what's
Oh
happening here?"
no.
Okay. And they lined everyone up and they're like kind of laughing. They're like, everyone take off your shirts. And we're like, come on, man. Like we're
Yeah.
not gonna get like stripped down or anything like that. And they're like laughing. So we knew it was like a joke. So we take off our shirts and they pull out all these bottles of syrup. Okay. And they just drench you in syrup. Okay. So we're all sitting there head to toe covered in like maple syrup. All right. And then they pour out boxes of Fruity Pebbles all around the house, okay?
Yeah.
And each of those are a different color. And so with your sticky maple hands, you have to sort all the pieces of Fruity Pebbles by color, and you can't leave until it's done. You can't leave
They
until
were
like
creative. I like that.
dude, it was so funny. Like when they poured them out, and they're like sort them by color. We all just like broke down laughing. We're like, no way, you're gonna make us do this. So it was like stuff like that, you know. Like
Yeah.
I had a blast because like it is bonding and
It
like
is.
it's not traumatizing.
Right.
It just was like long, but like it definitely brought the group together, and it
Yeah,
was funny,
yeah.
and like they were making fun of us the whole time in like a nice way. Like it was
Mhm.
like it was chill, right? Like it wasn't like what you see in the movies of like,
Right.
you know, pound back a handle of alcohol and then puke it all up. Like
Yeah.
they thought that was super lame, and I agree. Like I don't get a lot of fun
Yes.
doing that either. Like that was never fun to me, even when I wanted to when it was self inflicted. You know, like it's
Right.
not fun.
Yeah.
So I appreciated the creativity
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
Those are
I get
funny.
to share these stories, right? Like and these stories are fun and they're funny, and I
Yeah.
look back on them really fondly because they're just fun.
That is really funny. That's super creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is like it's something that you wouldn't choose to do yourself, but at the same like there are things, and I mean there are some that I don't want to share. I will say as an
Yeah.
individual, I didn't do Rush my freshman year. I did it my sophomore year, and I'm sure that you know the sophomores or the most recently initiated are the most gung ho about
Yeah.
any of the newcomer activities.
Yep.
And since I was the same age as all those people, they did. I don't know. It just didn't. They didn't really. It didn't. They didn't want. They didn't feel like they could do any of those things to me. I guess. So I had it very
Right.
easy. Um,
Uh
but yeah, there's definitely. I feel the same though, as far as like, there's as long as a line is not crossed, it is something that brought the group together. It's something that we like. We
yeah.
will all remember. We will like fondly reminisce whenever we get back together. Talk about some of the funny things that we went through, etc. And don't get me wrong, some of it is not fun when you're doing it, but
Hell.
I think, knowing that everyone else that's already in here has done these things, and that everyone that comes after you will do these things. I don't know. As long, like I said, and it's not for
It's
everybody, and I know some people
I,
are not going to like it, but
yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are rolling their eyes right now, and I get it.
absolutely,
Like again,
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
running defense for any
That's right.
fraternity,
That's
and I
right.
certainly condemn anything. My fraternity didn't do any of this. I can happily say that. At least when I was there, maybe they did after because they were on campus for like another year. I don't know
Yeah,
what happened after that, but I will say, it's the same thing like in sports.
that's
Like
what I was about to say.
when you piss off the coach and he makes you run, like I mean, I had coaches that would run us to death,
Yeah.
and like that was traumatizing, and that sucked. But that was something that you went through as a group, and like
Mm-hmm.
you got close with them
Yeah,
because you're dragging people to the finish line.
that's right.
Kids with asthma are like passing out. It's like it's for
Still getting
real.
yelled
Like
at.
still getting yelled at. Like I mean, that's how it is. Maybe there's an issue there, but I'm just saying like sports
They're
sports are
probably
the same way. Like maybe it's
no.
just a
What
man thing. I don't know.
whether it's morally correct or not, it is
Yeah.
it is effective as far as like bringing the group together and creating some memories. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, it's definitely not for everybody, and I'm the same way. I'm not running defense. I think a lot of the stereotypes that they get are deserved. And I
Definitely.
mean,
Oh,
my
yeah.
prediction is that Greek life on campuses is probably not going to last too much longer. I think with phones, like there's no secrets anymore. Everybody's sharing everything, and so It's just a matter of time before they
Well,
all get.
if you're doing some crappy stuff, like you're gonna get busted.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's what we said all the time. It's like just don't do stupid things, and nothing bad will happen. You can
Yeah,
have your fun. You know get drunk, whatever. Just don't do stupid things.
yeah.
It's
But
pretty
that's
simple.
a tough challenge for some folks.
Oh, dude, don't get me started. Yeah.
Uh, that's so funny. Well, let's dive into some other topics. What are some other interests that you have outside of gaming, esports, and that world in online? What are some other things you like to do?
Oh God. I told you this in a message, dude. I'm so boring.
I'm the same
So
way.
I tr-
My answer is anime. Like that's my answer.
That's a good answer. I don't see the thing is I don't love movies that much. I will watch them. In fact, I've
Either.
actually seen the most movies I've ever seen in like 2 months. Like 4 or 5 movies I've seen now, which is
Yeah.
crazy because I hadn't up until last month, I hadn't watched a movie in like 5 years. The last
Yeah.
movie
Oh
okay, I take
wow.
that back. I take that back. I did see Top Gun because my girlfriend really wanted to see that. But before that, the last movie I saw then was uh that Ford versus Ferrari movie, maybe. I don't know if you saw that one. It was many years, like
I haven't.
2019, maybe.
I don't think so.
Um, Anyways, not the point. So I don't really love movies. I do like a lot of, as far as like other media, I do like sci-fi and
Okay.
fantasy
Yeah.
TV shows and movies, I guess. Um, I watch a lot of like crappy sci-fi or like one-off sci-fi
Yeah.
TV shows that pop up on any of the streaming services. I was like, sci-fi, I'll watch it. Like I'm really into that stuff. When I was a kid, like I really liked astronomy and stuff like that. I just wasn't smart enough for it.
Yeah.
Um, Other things, I tried to pick up golf, hurt my back, but I do like golfing. Um, haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah. Golf's
And then
hard.
golf's really hard,
So
but
hard.
that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
And for some, I mean, again, humble brag, but for someone who was really good at a lot of ball sports that I picked up,
Mm-hmm.
this one's kind of
Very
refreshing because it's like
challenging.
you can't be
Yes.
good right off the bat.
Yeah.
You can't be good. And like athleticism doesn't really get you anywhere.
Yep.
Right. So like being fast, being physical doesn't really get you anything in golf. It's finesse, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
and like what I'm realizing is I was just a brute in a lot of sports.
Yeah.
um I enjoy that. I mean, I enjoy watching a lot of sports too, like just watching sports stuff.
Mhm.
But a big thing that I've really enjoyed over the years is actually like finance. Like I don't do a lot of investing anymore, but I
Yeah.
do like keeping up with it. I used to do a lot of investing, especially during the pandemic, and like how to manage your finance and like financial planning. I know it sounds super weird, but I do
No.
really enjoy like investment stuff. Mostly in just like real investments, which all investments aren't real, but I didn't get into like NFTs. I didn't really
Sure.
dabble much in like crypto.
Yeah.
I'm talking more like stocks and
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that, in like the New York Stock Exchange. Um, and then I guess something that I've really picked up in the last couple years is actually just making content.
Yeah. Yeah.
For when I started casting, I had a full-time job at the same time for the first 4 years. So I kind of gave myself the excuse of like, you don't need to make content because I didn't have
Right.
time, and it was true. I didn't have time. I legitimately had no time. Um, and so, but now since RLCSX, it's like, dude, you have time. And
Yeah.
luckily, I started streaming in RLCSX a lot. So like, I take breaks here. Like today, I streamed for the first time in a month.
Yeah.
But like, I kind of been learning how to build momentum on that, and like YouTube videos I picked up starting this year. I've been making
Yeah.
YouTube videos, and like I know that's work related stuff, but that is the stuff I spend a lot of my time on, and I really enjoy doing it. I suck ass at it, but like it takes me forever to edit things. Like I'm like flopping
Dude.
around, but I really enjoy the process, and it's what soaks up most of my time now. Is just
Yeah.
thinking about content. I sit in the Discord with Spaceman, he runs a YouTube channel, but it's about like
Marvel stuff. Yeah.
Marvel stuff,
Yeah.
and Star Wars. He's like a big nerd into that stuff. I don't know anything about any of it, but I sit and I listen to him like talk about his process, and like his last video got like
Mm-hmm.
130K views or something like that. And he'll tell me, like, even in that video, he'll message me like every hour. He's like, dude, the video's sucking. Like, it's bombing right now. I'm like, give it time. On this video in particular, I'm like, this is a good video. Like, just give it time.
Yeah.
People are going to like this
Yeah.
one. And he's like, okay, okay. He switched the thumbnail, he switched the title, and it just blasted off like 2 days
Yeah.
later. So, like, learning content has been a really big hurdle for me as far as like, there's just like a massive amount of things you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I spend most of my time on. Otherwise, I like trying new food and traveling
Okay.
with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's something that I do. We try to do as much as we can. We were doing a good job up until the economy started hurting, and then we kind of pulled back. So like, maybe we should save our money.
Sure.
And we bought a house, so we're like,
Yeah.
we don't have any more money. Um,
It's all gone.
it is all gone. So, but yeah, that's about it. I wouldn't say I'm a very
Dude,
interesting person.
I'm the same way. I think, I mean, it's unless you just got all kinds of money laying around, I think it's hard. You know what I mean? It's not like
Definitely.
it's expensive now. It's not easy to do things, even just hobbies. But yeah, to kind of round back to the content thing, I really enjoy it as well, and I think you're totally right about like there's so much to know and learn. I
Yeah.
know that I set out on the journey and I had this idea of what I thought it was, and it's just not that. Like all the things that I thought would be
Yeah.
challenging are not challenging at all, and the stuff that I was just not even thinking about is what's actually challenging.
Yep.
And I think it's actually taught me a lot of valuable lessons that I can apply into like my real life situations. As far as patience and like reflection. Just like seeing how something worked instead of being angry at it or sad that it didn't go how you wanted, or even just like spending too much time celebrating it, like looking at it for a moment, thinking about it, and then how can I use that knowledge from that experience in the future. And also, like, I think it taught me not to put too much stock into that thing. Like you're talking
Mhm.
about, for example, a YouTube video. Like the purpose is not how well it performs. The purpose was creating it, because
Yes.
I got better through that. I learned through that, and I will be able to create something better because I did this. Even if it flops or if it gets a million, that is not really what
Right.
I'm looking at when I'm making it. What I'm looking at doing is just the creation, the process
Yep.
of making this thing,
Well,
which I
and
think is
growing it.
very healthy to take to real life.
Yes. Oh, and well, and YouTube in particular, like I have contacted a lot of people just for like advice about YouTube,
Yeah.
and especially Spaceman. And like he always says, he's just like it's a marathon,
Mm-hmm.
and even if the video bombs, it doesn't mean that that video isn't useful to your channel, because it's
Yeah.
just a bigger backlog that someone who is interested in watching your content can go and consume.
Yeah.
And that one single viewer is way more valuable, a viewer that watches multiple of your videos, than one person who just randomly comes across
Yeah.
the blowing up video of that week, because you get more consistent views, and that's someone who will continually watch each subsequent video after that.
Yeah.
So, and you're right, like you can apply it to life, like fitness. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
Like
That's right.
nobody gets fit in a week, right?
Mhm.
And anyone who claims they did is crazy. Even in a month, I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, you got to
Yep.
be on some crazy diet to get fit in a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely feel that, and I think about that a lot. Is like,
Yeah.
okay, just stay the course. And that's what I've done with YouTube in particular. Like I've only made 3 videos since January.
Yeah.
Maybe post every couple months, but I only do it when I want to.
Yep.
I only make a video that like actually interested in, not something that I think will blow up.
Yeah.
Although that tends to coincide a
Sure.
lot. Like my last video was about Turbo's retirement. Like that was very topical, but at the same time, I was like, I'm interested in this. I'm gonna make
Yep.
it. My next video is gonna be about Zen and vitality. Like I'm interested in that stuff,
Mhm.
So there's a little bit of that, but yeah, it's just like, just keep making the video. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it gets 1 view. Just get it out there, because the
Mhm.
more you have out there, and when YouTube sees you post, the whole algorithm conversation comes in. It just
Yeah.
it all matters.
Something that, like I guess if I sat and actually thought about it, it's not secret information, but I was talking with Rizzo about it, and he was just talking about like just purely like a marketing aspect. It's just free impressions. Like every time you upload and your video gets
Yeah.
shown to 3,000 people, that's just you being present in that person's mind. And it may just be they look at it and they're not interested and they click something else. But
They see your name.
exactly, they see your name, and it's free. You just
Yeah.
make something you
Just have
like
to
and
upload.
pop it up there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I have been That's why I'm actually so excited about this, and why I've been having so much fun with this. Is I've wanted to do something on YouTube, but just never really felt compelled to make like ranked gameplay stuff.
Yeah.
I've got some coaching stuff in the past, and I didn't, I enjoyed making it, but I also feel, especially because like it was geared towards like ranked ladder stuff.
Hmm.
It's just, I'm just gonna say it again, and then say it again. Like look
Yeah.
around the field, see where your teammates are, space
Yeah.
right, like,
Yeah.
and obviously there are ways to go deeper, but I don't know. I just didn't feel super compelled or interested or
You'd
excited
hate
to
being a
make,
caster.
huh?
You'd hate being a caster then. You just say the same things over and over again.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just like, I knew that I needed to be posting some VOD content, but I just never really felt pulled or excited to I couldn't find something that I was excited to make. And that is
Yeah.
like, that was my biggest hurdle. So these have been super fun. And I think it's because it's not even Rocket League. You know what I mean? I know that I'm talking to
Mhm.
Rocket League people, but it's just like
Yeah.
just having a normal human conversation. I very much have always been a like super social person. I love hanging out with people. I love being around others. Um, Probably the toughest transition of this job was that aspect.
Mhm.
You know, even just having work friends, like they're not people that I'm gonna tell my deepest darkest secrets to, but I get to have
Sure.
interaction and engagement with real people every day. And man,
Yeah.
I did this right before COVID hit. My roommates at the time, it was my friend and his fiance, and they wanted their own house, and so they move out. I'm doing a work from home career. I'm living by myself for the first time ever, and it's a pandemic, and I was just struggling, man. I mean, it'd be two
Yeah. It's
weeks. You
hard.
know, I go 2 weeks without seeing people. I go stock up on groceries, and I wouldn't see a human for 2 weeks, and it was just, it was
Yep.
tough.
Yeah. No, I feel that I was lucky. I moved in with my girlfriend in 2020, but there's about 6 months of that where I was living by myself. But I actually I feel the you say you're a very social person, and
Yeah,
I would actually say that I'm pretty middle of the road as far as like how social I am. Like
yeah.
some events I'm very social. Some events I don't know if I'm antisocial, but I'm just a little bit more like I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
Um, but that's been a hard transition for me because I was a pretty quiet kid in high school, and even in college. Like I wasn't super social. I could go to a lot of parties and stuff like that, but I wasn't like the crazy kid or whatever,
Yeah.
or even social. Like I wasn't even like I wasn't even just like walking up to girls, right? Like that wasn't my style, right? Like
Yeah.
I wasn't like that, and so this job's been tough
Mhm.
because I think people expect you, especially as talent,
Right,
to
right.
be like
Yeah.
super social,
Mhm.
and in a lot of ways, you know, that's very good for us, right? Because as I told you before, like being talent is mostly about connections in the end, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But trying to basically walk up to guys like you, like I've always known who you are, but I'd never really had a chance to like
Yeah.
interact with you, right? I think Gold Rush is probably the
Mhm.
biggest interaction we've had together face
Yeah.
to face, and it was great. And like obviously we get along and everything. It's hard to do that though, especially in the gaming space because there's always
Yeah.
this one degree of separation
Mhm.
between me as the viewer watching you online, and so I feel like does this person remember me? You know,
Yeah.
does this person
Yeah.
even want to talk to me?
Yeah.
Like it's that kind of stuff, and I've always struggled with that because even if I know the person knows who I am. Oh, and I will say, especially if they're younger, like if it's like a 17-year-old pro player, it's like, what the hell do I have in common with
Yeah.
a 17-year-old,
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that's really tough. Like there are guys like Calm who are the exception, who I walked around at the Gold Rush event. I walked around with him at the Mall of America. We had a conversation.
Yeah.
He's like 18 years old. I would have thought he was like 23, right?
Mhm.
Like he's very mature. But it's tough. Like I'm not gonna strike up casual conversation with people who are 17, 18, even 19
Mhm.
years old. I don't have anything in common. All right. Like it's very tough for me. Obviously, the one thing we have in common is Rocket League,
Yeah.
which is always the starting point. But outside of that, to really get to know some people, it's very tough. It's
Yeah.
very tough, and that's something that I've really struggled with personally in this like industry,
Yep.
especially with other talent. So like I was at DreamHack
Mhm.
for the CRL Worlds, and uh, F dot was there, who I can walk up and say hi to anytime I want. But
Yeah.
Formal, who's a Call of Duty pro, ex Halo pro as well. big guy that I looked up to for a long time back in the Halo Call of Duty days, and he hopped out of a car with his suitcase, ripped open a dart, started smoking it, and I was like, oh my god, that's formal. Like I could have gone up and said hi to him, but I didn't
Yeah.
because it's like I don't want to be
Yeah.
weird and like, hi,
Yeah.
my name's Corelli. I'm a Rocket League caster, and I've known you for like 15 years. I want to say hi because it's the only chance that I have to do that. Okay, great meeting you. Bye. It's just weird. And apparently he's like the coolest guy in the world. Like Spaceman knows him because he's from the Call of Duty area. But and he would have been totally chill with that. But like that kind of stuff, or like Machine. Do you know who Machine is? He does CS:GO commentary. Huge CS:GO caster.
Yeah.
He was at the bar, and like I wanted to say hi to him because like he's a guy I looked up to. He's a guy who's a really good talent, but like he's big time, right? And like I can't. Hi, my name's Corelli. I'm a Rocket League caster. Nice to meet you. Like I don't know, it's just weird. Like I don't want to be. I don't want to be a fanboy. Because like I don't like it when people fanboy about me, because I was just like, just say hi. Just say hi. You don't need to be like, oh my god, oh my god. I was like, I'm not that cool. I'm really not that cool. Like I promise you, I'm not that cool.
Yeah.
I will be nice to you. I'll be cool with you. Like we can have a conversation about whatever you want. But you don't need to be freaking out.
Yeah. No, it is. It's so. I don't know what word to use. It's just so odd because I think when you take, like, all of us are acquainted with one another, but it's all through the screen. It's all digital. Like if this was a sport and we were all in a single location and you were like regularly walking by these people in the hall and you could like nod and say hello and like there's organic situations for you to strike a conversation. It's so much more natural, but in this online space, it's just and there's so many like social dynamics at play. Like you're worried that person, and I'm not saying you, but this is an example.
Yeah.
But you're worried that person is going to think that you are maybe clout chasing or like you're looking for something or you want something from them or you want an opportunity. There's just so many things at play. And it's funny because this is something that I've talked with a few of the guests here after, like when we're just chatting afterwards. And it's one of the things that I'm most excited about this, because this has provided me with a like relatively organic situation to just sit and say hello. There are so many people that I'm acquainted with social media, and we tweet back and forth and support and like one another's tweets. But like you said, until Gold Rush, I knew who you were, you knew who I was, but we didn't really have a moment to sit and just have a conversation and develop some sort of rapport with one another. And I have an idea of who I would get along with, but you don't know until you start to talk.
Yeah.
So
It's why I was watching do you know who Doc Emmerich is, the hockey commentator?
I don't.
He's like one of the best of all time. I don't watch hockey, but anyways, it has nothing to do with the commentary. It has everything to do with, as a sports broadcaster, and something that I'm very jealous of with sports is that they are at the venue with the players, which means when they walk in, they were recording them. And I saw this with Chris Collinsworth too. There was like some tweet I saw, the NFL commentator, who they walk in security with the players.
Yeah.
So they're sitting in line with the players. They're chatting with the players. They're saying, hey, how's the wife? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I really wish we got that as an esport, because the LANs don't provide it, because the players, even as talent, like the players are, they're in their own thing. And it's not like, I don't want to come in there and be like, hi, you guys are doing scrims right now? Great. I don't care. I want to talk about your game. Like, give me some, it's not stuff like that. But let me get to know you real quick while you're scrimming vitality. It's like, no, it's not going to happen. So it's really hard, because then also too, it's like, again, I think an age does play into it.
Yes.
Where it's like, you have a 17-year-old, 16, 15-year-old kid who's at LAN, who's got 10,000 people watching him in person, 200,000 people watching him online. He's feeling the most pressure he's ever felt in his entire life, and he doesn't know how to emotionally deal with that. And I'm trying to strike up a conversation about how high school is.
Dude, leave me alone.
and so it's like, and he doesn't want to talk about Rocket League because he's like crapping his pants that he's about to go on stage.
Yeah.
And so like I've heard Rizzo, even, who's like one of the most experienced pros, he was talking about how he used to throw up before games because he was so nervous.
Yeah.
And so it's not like I know you can feel that with some players. I've interacted with players, so it's like I've felt that from them, where it's like, oh, they don't want to talk, like they don't feel good, or it's all kind of like washing over them. You can kind of tell when the moment's kind of like washing over someone. And so it's tough. So it's like in those instances where I'm watching this Doc Emmerich documentary on him. He's going through, he's shaking hands with all the security
Yes.
guards. He's
Yeah.
talking to execs on both of the clubs that are playing that day. He's, patting players on the back. He's maybe getting a little bit of insight. The players in the locker room or something. He catches one outside the locker room. He's like, "Hey, Jimmy, like, how you doing today?" And like they know each other. And by the way, like the age difference is huge there. Like Doc
Sure.
Emmer, it's like 50, 60, 70 years old. And some of those players are 19, 20, 21, 22 probably. But it's all good because they've built that rapport together over time with the interactions. And esports, I think, I know we're talking about work again, but esports doesn't have that,
No,
and Rocket League doesn't have that very good or very well. And our time, like at Gold Rush that we keep mentioning, clearly stuck out to both of us because like that was the moment where we really got to sit and get to know each other. And there's been so many conversations, not just with you, but with so many different people that I've got to do that with, especially a lot of the incoming talent, people like Daz, who came on to CRL, who was also super nervous his first day and like didn't know what was going on, and like that moment was washing over him. But then after the stream, he goes back to being DeMar, right? Like, he kind of he settles in, he loosens up. And I wish we got more of this. I wish we got more of what this is, because it's really nice to get to know people, I think, more on a personal level rather than, oh, this is First Killer, or oh, this
big
is
scary
James
name.
Spot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is Shogun and Johnny Boy, right? Like like Shogun and Johnny Boy, you could talk about anything with those guys, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, and there's not really anything you can do about it. It's just gonna be this digital landscape. It's how it is. But I definitely agree. I think it's one of the just difficulties of the space. The the human interaction provides so much. And on that note, I think teams. I think that's why that boot camp is so helpful, right? To get that just in person. And maybe you're still nervous, but just being in person, I think it is a huge buff.
Oh yeah.
Well,
especially for talent.
Corelli, we are over an hour, and I don't want to keep you too long, but I do have one final question, and this is a tough one, but I like to throw it at everybody. This is an open question. If there has been anything that's on your mind, it could be about Corelli, it could be about Rocket League, it could be about esports, life, whatever. If there's anything that's been on your mind that you would like to share with the audience, feel free to do so now. And if not, that's totally fine. We'll just wrap it up here.
Like a question or a take or a statement?
A question, anything, a command, even whatever you so desire.
No, I don't have anything that's been sitting on my mind, honestly. I will say this, because this is, you and I both come from the Rocket League scene, but I am very excited for the Rocket League scene going forward as talent. I wish that everyone felt that way.
Yeah.
I am very optimistic in regards to esports and Rocket League, and I know times are tough these days.
Yeah.
But I appreciate people like you who are creating content not only with Rocket League people, but I'm sure you'll branch out and do other people as well. That's really cool, and I appreciate any time that I get to come and talk about myself, because that's the easiest topic for me. So it was easy.
That's right. Well, man, thank you so much for carving out some time to chat with us today. I really appreciate it. It was a good conversation. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Outside the Grind. We will catch you next week.